Oh, hello, and happy Wednesday to all who acknowledge. What's up, guys?
Good morning.
I like this.
Uh,
I like what's going on here. We all look very chill. Chandler's back at home from Detroit, so I'm happy for you. How was the flight? Love to hear about it.
Ooh, long and bumpy. You would not have loved it, Michelle.
Oh, Lou wouldn't have either. Don't look at me. Lou's just as bad as I am.
It was a Xanax. It was a Xanax halfway there type of flight,
I
which
don't know.
really left the rest of the day a little weird.
Yeah, most days of travel are just a wash. The good news is we did have a lot of basketball last night, including one big game. But before we can even get to the action on the courts, we had a little. I'm not going to call it drama. I think it's interesting, actually. Some stories coming out of the Sixers situation. They had a team meeting on Monday that was following the loss there to the Miami Heat. It was about an hour long, which made everybody late. Journalists hanging out, waiting on it. It was their fourth consecutive loss. And reportedly in this meeting, Maxey challenged Embiid, that's right, to be on time for all team activities moving forward, saying he was, quote, late for everything and that it impacts the locker room. I love this. But Chandler, I don't know. Do you love this?
I mean, no, of course you don't love this because when you look at this team, Joel Embiid is their best player, and that which usually means he should be their leader. And so when you hear something like this, and I don't know Tyrese Maxey at all, but he seems like a very happy-go-lucky type of dude who really made that leap last year, who clearly is now in this leader role. But this is disappointing. And this is true. It's one thing to be hurt. It's one thing not to be available. But as a leader, you lead always, and you lead in the most important times or when your team is struggling, when your team is losing. So he's right. If Joel is being late, if he's not coming to the shoot arounds or late to film, all that stuff adds up and that adds up. And then you start having this animosity towards the coaching staff when they don't say anything to him or they coach him differently than everybody else. From the 12th man to the first man, there's got to be a balance. Everybody's got to be on the same page. So this is just not a good situation. First of all, I'd love to know how it got out.
There it is.
That's also another issue because there's a lot of things that need to stay in-house. But listen, being a leader isn't just the best team. That's organizing team dinners. That's putting up shots afterwards. It's watching films with the young guys. And most importantly, that's being on time and leading by example, whether you're playing or not. So it's not a good thing for sure. I hate it for the team. I hate it for Joel. I hate it for Nick Nurse and this whole franchise. This is a team that was going into this season with all these expectations to compete for a championship. And now it's just when it rains, it pours. You just keep getting this bad news, bad news. I love that the fact that Maxey is challenging him and kind of taking that role as, look, you're not available right now. This is my team. He has the right, I believe, to do that. Anybody does. If any of the guys, 1 through 12, are being late every single day, that's not okay. So it's a bigger issue here, of why it's happening, but it's also a huge issue of how something like this even gets out.
I think
Yeah,
when I say I love it, I love the idea that like a fire has been lit and it's coming from a young leader in the locker room. Maybe that's what I meant, but the getting out of it all is always fascinating to me. As a team, do you look around, Lou? Like if something gets out, are you guys like somebody in here is a rat? Like, how does it
absolutely.
work?
Absolutely. You look at everybody. When you have these meetings, when you have these closed door meetings, usually it's the coaching staff and it's the players, and everybody is kind of getting things off of their chest. And, whether it's somebody that gets on the phone and gossips with their homeboys or their wife or something, and those people are considered sources, and they have the relationships with the Shams of the world and they leak information. That's how these things get out. If listen, it's like anywhere else. If you hear some juicy gossip, you want to tell somebody what you heard. You want to let somebody in on an experience, and sometimes that creates leaks within your organization and your locker room when you're having these conversations. And coincidentally, I can give you guys an inside scoop on this thing because
Hmm.
one way or another, I ended up on the phone with a few of the guys from the 76ers, and by all accounts, this was kind of blown out of proportion. The idea of Tyrese calling Joel out, and how it's been portrayed in the media as one of these type of blow up things. From my understanding, they just had a conversation on accountability, just keeping everybody in check. you know, and sometimes you got to have that as a team, just making sure we all on the same page. Hey, bro, we understand you're not going to play in these games, but, you know, team meetings and all of that, it's important for you to be there. It's important for you to be there on time. So from my understanding, that was the nature of the conversation. That was the context of a conversation. It wasn't as much of Tyrese Maxey challenging Joel Embiid as has been stated. You know, it wasn't a conversation about accountability. By all accounts, those guys are doing just fine. They were sitting next to each other when we were on the phone, laughing and giggling and having a good time and trying to get this team back on the same page. And so that, from what I understand, that was the context of the conversation, not as much of the negative stuff that's trying to come out at this point.
I will say, just from the outside looking in, it doesn't seem like a personality trait that Tyrese Maxey would just jump Joel Embiid out of nowhere, knowing everything he's going through, knowing that he's actually hurt, probably more so than the media and the fan base actually knows in Philadelphia. So I do think it's a good thing that, listen, there's no, you know, there's no secrets there. They're all holding each other accountable. It's just there's certain things, there's certain call outs, there's certain team meetings that need to stay in house. And look, I know Shams is good at his job, but this is unacceptable. This needs to stay in house. This needs to be between those guys, because those are the guys who are going to have to figure this out. No one else, not the media, not the fans, not even the coaches. It's those players in between those lines. So I love the idea that they're holding each other accountable. I love the idea that they're even pushing each other. But this is no way, I mean, a good thing for them moving forward, because now I'd be wondering, how did this get out? Who said something and all that?
Oh,
Well, you know,
that part would make me paranoid.
Right. Well, you know, the first thing that happened, Nick Nurse announced after the Heat game that they were going to have a team meeting. So I think that alone put everybody on just awareness of them having a meeting. And then, you know, obviously after that, everybody's curious what's being said behind closed doors. And so, you know, like I said, from speaking with them guys to what's came out in the media, the context was completely different. The tone was completely different. It wasn't like those guys were button heads or anything like that. You know, when you're a 2-11 basketball team, you have to have a closed door meeting, and you got to get on the same page and make sure everybody goals are still in line and make sure the morale and everything like that is up in that locker room. You know, even though we've had our criticisms of this team so far, they're still in a position where they can string 4 or 5 games together and make something shake and make something happen for themselves. You know, we're on the outside looking in, you know, and our job is to give our opinions on, you know, what we see out on the basketball court. You know, Chandler and I said they may be cooked for this season. The Philadelphia 76ers, they see it differently, and that starts with communication and accountability. So by all accounts, I think that's the only thing that conversation was about.
I like it because I feel like this could be galvanizing. I know Embiid, you know, he's kind of mad at the talking heads, and he had that moment with the fans, and he, you know, he's not thrilled. And how could you be? The team's in a weird spot. This could be a really good sort of us against the world moment. Maybe. I don't know. I took all positives from it, although despite the rat aspect, obviously nobody wants a rat amongst them. But they also in this meeting apparently told Nick Nurse that they want to be coached harder, Chandler. And I'd love to know what exactly that means.
Yeah, this to me is the worst thing that you can hear as a coach. As a coach, you have to set the tone. You have to set every single foundation piece of that franchise the moment you get the job. And that's from everyone's attitude, everyone's energy, from shoot-arounds, from community events to practice to everything leading up to it. So that is on Nick Nurse. What I took from this is coach the 12th man like you coach Joel. Keep it balanced. That to me is when like I played with Kevin, when I played for Kevin McHale. He would jump James Harden, whether that was a private conversation beforehand or not, or not. He would jump him just as hard as he would jump a rookie. And it almost made everybody buy in. It got everybody's respect. So to me, I don't know if this is a thing about he's coaching certain people harder. He's letting certain people get away with certain things, being late, being, not punctual to certain events. That I don't know, but you never want to hear, 15, 20 games into a season that your team is the one asking to be coached harder. That is not an ideal situation, and that no player also ever wants to feel like they're a coach's whipping boy, where like they're just going off on one dude. Or every coach usually has that one guy he loves to take everything out on. I don't know every detail on this situation, but to me, when you're a coach, you have to balance it. You have to coach 1 through 15 the same, no matter the stardom level of the player to a player's rookie year. It's got to be balanced, or else that's how you create this animosity, this jealousy, this bad culture in a locker room. So this is the worst part of it to me, because the coach should already be coaching them as hard and as best to his ability as possible.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with Chandler. Yeah, I agree with Chandler on this. And, I can speak directly about Nick Nurse. He coached me in Toronto, and, Chandler can attest to this. We have a term called a player's coach. Nick Nurse will be what you consider a player's coach. He's one of those type of guys. It's important for him to have good relationships, good rapport with his guys, from the first man to the 12th man. And sometimes they can get taken as soft or not coaching us hard enough when you're going in and out of your way to try to please players. That's who Nick Nurse is. He's one of those guys. He's going to communicate with you. He's going to ask you questions. When some coaches, hey, listen, it's my way or the highway. If you don't like it, ask for a trade. Get out of here. This is how we're doing things. Nick Nurse, to me, in my experience, he's one of those collaborative coaches where he's going to ask questions, where he's going to ask you about your concerns. He's going to see if you guys can get on the same page communication-wise to accomplish things. And, the 76ers, they're probably in a space, hey, look, at 2-11, we can't afford that right now. We can't afford you asking us questions or tiptoeing around feelings. Like I said, that conversation yesterday was all about accountability. So these guys are asking, hey, man, from top guy to the bottom guy, make sure we're being held accountable and make sure we're doing our jobs to get this thing back on the right page. And so I think that's the context of this thing, in my opinion, with Nick Nurse and just working with him and being around him. He's that type of coach.
And by the way, a lot of this stuff happens on every single team. Not every team is just 2-11 championship expectations. Everything gets exposed when you're losing. So this team,
it just gets highlighted when you're losing. Yeah,
this is just exposed right now because they're losing. Their best player is hurt. He's at it with the media. Like this happens in every single locker room. It's just under a magnifying glass when you are the Philadelphia 76ers and you come into this season with championship hopes, and now you're 2-11, looking at a possible #1 pick. Everything is annoying. Everything is frustrating. It's not fun to go to that practice facility right now the next day. Film sessions are brutal. So I think everybody's just kind of on edge, but everything's just exposed when you get off to this bad of a start.
All right, we'll keep our eye on that one. I hope this is the light that turns things around, but we shall see.
Michelle, but what do you do? Like, this big three is together for the foreseeable. No, this big three is together for the foreseeable future, right? Like,
yeah.
Joel Embiid's got to prove he's healthy before you can even trade him. Then if he's healthy, you're not going to want to trade him. Tyrese Maxey's this up and star. They just got Paul George. So this big three is together. So if you're going to make a change, Nick Nurse is the only one that I can see together.
Nope. Can't do it. It's too early. Cannot do that. Got to figure this out. So I'm thinking yesterday, maybe that will be the point. And 2-3 months from now, we'll be like, that meeting back in Miami, that was really a turning point. That's the best case scenario. So we'll see if that happens. We had a big game last night, of course. It was Cavs-Celtics. Cavs going in undefeated into Boston. There's that court. Celtics took care of business. First loss of the season for Cleveland, 121-17. Tatum had 33, 12, and 7. Derek White, 19, 6, and 5. Mitchell had 35 points. Garland had 8 points. He was 3 of 21. We'll get to that, of course. But the end of the streak was there. There was a 20-point lead at one point, by the way, for Boston in this one. I guess this is just the tale of the NBA these days. Does this solidify? Did it need to be solidified? Is it just Boston and everyone else? Did this game change anything in your mind, Chandler?
No, it gave me a little bit more confidence in the Cavs, actually. The fact that they got down so big early while getting basically nothing, 3 for 21 from Darius Garland, his worst game of the season, maybe his career, and they still had a chance in this game. And it everyone knows Boston is the top dog. Like, everyone is a little shocked by the start of the Cavs, and their schedule has been a little light, but that's going to be for the rest of the season. The Eastern Conference is not stacked. The Cavs are going to win a lot of games. The Knicks are going to figure it out and win a lot of games. The Boston Celtics are going to win 55, 60, like, they're going to win a lot of games. They are playing these teams 2 to 4 times all year long. But listen, the Boston Celtics are just poised, man. They shoot a lot of threes. They made 14 threes in the first half. And then you can see in the second half, they got a little trigger happy with the 3. And that's what kind of allowed Cleveland to make that run and close the gap there. But this was a statement game for them. they talked about in the media afterwards, Jason and Derek White, that of course they were aware of that, but they just do their job. They're poised. They do the same thing every single time, and that's what makes them a great team. This was a big win for them. They kind of block out the noise. But on the flip side, I was listening to Kenny Smith yesterday. It's kind of a good thing for the Cavs too, because when you go on a streak like this, you kind of get tight. You kind of wonder when is it going to end? You start putting all this energy into this streak where you're not even focused on the season and enjoying it. So I think long term, listen, they weren't going to go 82-0. So I do think this is a good thing for the Cavs. Now I wish they almost got their first loss not against the team that they're going to have to go through to get to the finals. But listen, regardless, they showed me a lot. They showed maturity. They could have packed it in, hung their head. They cut this game. They could have won this game. They put themselves in the position after being down 20+ points. So I saw a lot from the Cavs, but the Celtics proved, listen, we're still the top dog and we're not going anywhere.
Lou, what do we say? Lou and I like to talk about the Cavs a lot in our off time together. This team can do it all. They can be down a lot. They can be down a little. It's just, they don't seem to get too rattled. So I'm kind of with Chandler on the whole. This is kind of a positive for Cleveland, Lou. I don't know if you see that the same way.
Yeah, I absolutely do. You know, watching that game last night, them getting down 20 points and kind of milling around that area for most of the second half. And then out of nowhere, you know, they cut it to 12, then they get it down to 8. Now you got a 4-point game and you're looking at something different. One of the things that I saw was they were able to use their size to create matchup problems for Boston. You know, Boston is one of the originators of this small ball group, you know, where they can put Tatum at a 4. Like he was guarding Evan Mobley yesterday at the 5, I believe, or Jared Allen at the 5, and they were switching everything, but that caused some matchup problems for them. They were dumping that ball down and pick and rolls and getting easy dunks from that. You know, I think Cleveland exposed that part of their game for Boston. You know, they're going to have to figure out a way to play with some size against teams that have mobile bigs that can stretch the floor and play inside out. You know, that was one of the things I saw. But give Boston credit; they're a big time shot making team, and those guys were making shots. You know, all the way down to Peyton Pritchard. Those guys were hitting big time shots. They were timely shots when they needed them the most in clutch situations, and you can tell it was a team that was trying to prove themselves. And the other team, we've been here before, and, you know, we just go to protocol when things get tight. And that's what Boston was able to do. But I'm excited about this matchup moving forward throughout the course of this season.
And Lou, this is the second year now that they've led the NBA in 3-point attempts. So this isn't new. This is what worked for them last year. This is what got them a championship last year. Obviously, they have a lot of different ways to beat you. They can beat you in the half court. They can bog you down and defend you. They have 2 of the most versatile wings that can score at will. But listen, they've had 40+ 3-point attempts in every single game, and they're 5-0 when they hit at least 23. So it works. So you can say this is the way the game's going, or they need to take less threes. This has been the recipe for success for them. And the Cavs cut to 5 times last night until someone on the Boston Celtics made a big play. They made a big stop, something like that. But they're shooting an NBA record 50.5 threes a game, and it's working. So I wouldn't change a thing.
Dear God, that's a lot of threes. It's a crazy amount of threes. All right. But if you're gambling, it's actually kind of fun. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, former Rookie of the Year, Michael Carter Williams joins the show. There he is. He's on time. 9-year vet in the league. A little memory lane there for you. By the way, Michael, thank you for joining the show. We just spent so much time in the first block talking about Philly and what's going on and their record and the meetings and the rats and all of the things that come with playing in Philadelphia. And obviously you were there. Maybe shed a little light on what it's like in that particular city playing for that team.
Yeah, I mean, it's gossipy, right? Like the people they want to know the inside information. They go the extra mile to probably try to find, you know, what's going on and, you know, who's saying what more than other cities. So it is a gossipy place.
Ew, I don't like that. I do not love that. But as a rookie, because you and Lou both had the honors of being rookies in Philadelphia, there's a part of me that thinks, you know what, you're getting thrown into the fire rather than maybe a soft landing somewhere else as a rookie. Would you look at it that way?
Yeah, I would say so. As far as like the media stuff goes, you're definitely thrown in the fire more. Like people are more direct. They ask the tougher questions. On the court, obviously, there's a little pressure, but you know, if you're playing well, the city loves you. If not, as long as you're playing hard, I feel like, the city will be behind you. But in terms of the media and stuff, yeah, you're definitely thrown in the fire.
Michael, first of all, good to see you, buddy. I miss you out there playing. Your first ever game in the NBA, you go ahead and drop 22, 12, and 7 with 9 steals against LeBron, the defending champs, Miami Heat. It doesn't get much better than that. What is like your best memory from that night? Because that is a hell of a start to a career.
Yeah, I mean, I think, obviously it was my first game. At the end of the game, after the game, just my mom was sitting courtside, being able to give her a hug, my stepfather a hug. It was kind of that surreal moment, like, like we're here, like it was my first game. Like this is all the hard work that we put in, all the sacrifice that we made as a family to pursue my dreams. So, I mean, that moment was special to me. Like I'll never forget that day.
Mike, for whatever reason, man, the Sixers, they traded you less than a year after winning Rookie of the Year. Take me through that time. Were you surprised, upset, and did you want to stay in Philadelphia? What was that process like being traded so early on in your career?
Yeah, I mean, I was surprised. I mean, I was all those emotions, bro. I was surprised. I was upset. I didn't understand. I spent a lot of time trying to understand it. I would be in the meetings with Hinkie and, Brett Brown, and we would talk about our future. Like, they would ask me my opinion on, X, Y, and Z, whatever. So I thought I was really part of the process, like step by step, like things that I wouldn't even ask for, I was invited to, like, and I'm sure they meant it with all good intention, but it was confusing when, I got the call. I got the call with like 5 minutes of the trade deadline. It was like, you're being traded to Milwaukee. So yeah, it was a tough experience for me just to, try to understand something that I was never going to be able to understand,
What did they get out of it?
What did they get out
of that deal?
What'd you say, Lou?
Who was traded in that deal? You remember?
I was traded, and it was a three-way team deal. I think it was Brandon Knight was traded from Milwaukee. I don't remember the third team. I don't remember where he went.
Okay.
But it was tough though. Like I walked in the locker room and like Brandon Knight made a great effect on that team. Like he built some real relationships there. So like when I walked in, it was like dudes were upset.
Yeah,
like,
I'm sure
it was the new guy.
Yeah. So I was like, damn, like I know y'all don't even y'all don't know me. But obviously his effect was great. So I don't know. It was tough all the way around. Like I was upset to be traded. And then I got there and it was like, not to say dudes weren't welcoming or anything like that, but you know how it is, bro. You lose, feel like your friend is leaving, or moving away.
Mm-hmm. Hey, listen, I got traded for Chris Paul going to the Clippers, so I understand. Everybody like, what's up with this? I get it.
Wait, do you guys do you know a little bit? Like, does an agent call you 20 minutes before and say, there's some talks, it's getting louder? Or do you get to that 5-minute mark before the trade deadline and you're thinking, cool, I'm clear? How does that work?
Depends on the organization, honestly.
And you see sometimes dudes figuring out on Twitter and with Woj or Shams that happens more likely than not now.
That's gross.
Yeah. It's honestly it's a roll of the dice.
Huh.
Like you could be on an organization where you don't know, or you can be on an organization, they give you a little heads up that they're looking to shop you around a little bit.
Mm-hmm. That would be nice. A little heads up would be nice.
I got traded.
The crazy thing is you got to leave the next day. That's the craziest part.
Yeah.
I had to leave the same day sometimes.
That's what I'm saying.
Where you get traded in the season, you might have to leave the same day. I had a GM tell me I was good. I can take my pregame nap, and my agent called me right after, say he's lying. Stay on the phone. He said he's lying. Stay on the phone doing something behind closed doors, and I was traded 15 minutes later.
At least it happened though when you were young, Mike, with like no kids, and like if you had to change your kids' schools and all that, that's where it gets a little dicey for me.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Yeah, I mean, I feel for those dudes that got to go through that, like getting up, leaving the city, leaving the kids. It's not easy.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Take your nap. He's lying. That's amazing. Well, you know what? You got to play with a young Giannis in Milwaukee. It's always fun to sort of go back and look and see what people have become. I know Jaylen Brown just called him a child, so I don't know what you would call him back when you played with him. Let me ask you, what was he like? I mean, we've seen him sort of physically grow, mentally grow, become a champion, all those things. When you first got there, what did you see?
I mean, when I first got there, he barely even knew English. So that's what we spent most of our time on I was trying to teach him how to speak. I was trying to teach him the way of America, like how things are. Like we talk about cultural things with music and history and things like that. But like in terms of a hooper, I think everybody could see the potential that he had, right? Like you see him you see him in practice in certain moments, and you see him early on his rookie year in certain moments in the game where you're like, oh man, he's done this like 1 or 2 times. That's going to turn into 4 or 5 times. And then once that turns into 4 or 5 and it's 10 plus, it's like, you could see him progressing each day. And it was cool to see. Like, I remember like there was always battles of who was going to be better, like him or Jabari. I know Jabari suffered some stuff like that, but it was cool to see them both grow. Yeah, I mean, you could definitely see him. I think most people knew what he was going to become.
I like the idea that you're spending time like on the language and the culture, because the hoop and stuff, yeah, we can get all that, but I love that. Like, what were the things that he gravitated towards? Were there certain things in America immediately that he was like, ugh, or loved?
Yeah, like I remember he would like come in the locker room and he would be like, "Oh, you listen to this song by J. Cole?" I'm like, bro, that was from 4 years ago. Like, no, but it was cool. It was cool, like to just update him on, different things like that. Like it was almost like I had somebody who was really willing to engage in that pop culture, in the rap culture, and like I could just feed him music, like yo, you like this? All right, listen to this next. Like, and like same thing with movie. Like you like watch Coming to America. Like, like watch this movie, watch that movie. And like he'd be, it was like being able to just erase all those memories from your head and being able to watch those movies all over, listen to that music all over again for the first time.
Oh, that's
man,
fun.
that's super dope. Just playing with different people and learning new cultures and being able to put Giannis on, man. That's dope. I got another throwback for you, man. While you were in Milwaukee, you also played with OJ Mayo. He was a high school. Had one of the craziest, coldest mixtapes back in the day. I wish we had mixtapes. Y'all was the first era of hoop was to had a mixtape. What was that experience like playing with OJ, man?
Bro, it was different. Bro. Playing with OJ, it was definitely somebody that in my experience in the league that I had never like experienced before. Like just as far as like his logic is just he's just an interesting character. Like I remember him going like, I'll be like, yo, what you doing today? He'd be like, we're in Chicago. He'd be like, I'm going into the city. And I'm like, he was like, I was like, what you about to do? He's like, oh, I'm about to just go shoot for some bread. I'm like, all right. So he comes back. He comes back with a duffel bag, like 50,000 in his duffel bag. I'm like, yo, you want all that just off just shots at the gym? He was like, yeah, we're all just in there. And then he left the bag on the bus like while we're going to practice. I'm like, yo, like he just, but that's OJ. Like that's the way he lived. And like I remember playing against Golden State. Like we had beat Golden State. We gave them their first loss. Where everybody's talking back and forth. Me and Draymond's talking back and forth. And then Draymond said something about me into the media about how I lost my spot or something, whatever. And then after the game, we had played them again in like a week. So we played them in Golden State after they ended up beating us, but it was a close game. And after the game, I remember OJ just going up to Draymond and be like, yo, watch how you talk about my young bull in the media. And we got into it a little bit. That was the first time I was like, dang, like he really got my back. Like, like just awesome. Little moments like that, like little dope moments like that. I remember, OJ by, and just him being a leader in the locker room. He helped out Giannis a lot too. Just about mindset stuff and working hard. Like there's a misconception about him, I think, that most people think that they know, but like most people don't know the OJ Mayo, that like he was like a preacher in his own way.
Hey, Chandler.
Hey, he was my high school class, Lou, and the D1 Greyhounds. Remember him, Billy Walker? Like I'm telling you, he was my age. I was top 20 in the country, and I would get nervous. I would get nervous around this dude. Like he had that type of energy.
Yeah.
Like he was such a thinning bro, where I just wanted to get to his game early to like watch him in layup drills type of stuff. Like he was that cold in high school.
Hey, let me tell you something, Chandler. There's guys in the neighborhood that they have money, and for whatever reason, they feel like they can shoot better than pros, and they'll gamble that money with you just by shooting regular jump shots, and you don't actually do it. Like, bro, I'm gonna take your money. It sounds like OJ was actually going and taking the bags, bro.
He was. He really was.
Yeah, you don't actually do it.
By the way, I'm pretty sure he's still hooping in Egypt right now. Nelly
is one of my good friends. Nelly don't care how much I've accomplished in the NBA. Every time he see me, he go in his pocket and he wants to shoot for jump shots. He want to shoot. He want to play for some money. He want to shoot easy money. It looked like OJ was running around city to city collecting bags.
Collected bags.
I love this. By the way, the fact that he also could leave the whole story is perfect. All right, you played on the Bulls. We're talking alphas here. D Wade, Rajon Rondo, Jimmy Butler. 3 alphas, all under one roof. How does that work? Doesn't seem like it would. How did it work?
It was rocky. It was real rocky in the beginning. I just felt like they were just trying to figure out, their place. I will say toward when we got to the playoffs, I feel like they all like took a step back and were able to sacrifice, something so that they all could play a role. I think they ended up figuring out, but in the beginning it was tough, man. It was tough. Like there's a lot of different personalities in there. Jimmy and D Wade, kind of similar personalities in a way, and Rondo is a lot different. So it took them a little while to figge it out.
And then a coach gets called soft, which obviously is a big deal. And of course, it's Jimmy Butler. So tell me about the moment that word drops.
Yeah, so we were just like, we had a bad start to the year. Like we had a real bad start to the year. We had a team meeting. And then Jimmy and Coach Hoiberg, they were going like, they weren't getting along. And Jimmy's supposed to be, he's the best player on our team. If them two aren't getting along, like something's off. So we needed to get them two on the same page. And Hoiberg was he was a rookie coach at the time. So I'm sure he was trying to figure stuff out too. But anyway, so there was one game where Jimmy got a tech, D Wade got a tech. The refs were awful that game. And then Taj Gibson got a tech. And so like if Taj gets a tech, something's off. Like he's a, you know what I mean? He's passionate, but he's more mild-mannered than, with the refs than most people. So then we went back into the locker room. Next day we had a team meeting. And so people were just like upset with Coach Hoiberg because, he wasn't out there on the refs, having the guys' backs like maybe he was supposed to. So next day we have a team meeting and Coach Hoiberg is like, Jimmy, like what's going on, man? Like what's going on with me and you? And he was like, Jimmy like kind of shook his head and he was like, no, tell me. And Jimmy was like, he looked at him. He was like, well, for one, I think you're soft. Two, he didn't even get to two. He didn't even get to two. Coach Hoiberg was like, well,
don't ask a question.
Yeah, like he didn't even get to two. And Coach Hoiberg was like, fuck you, Jimmy. And then Jimmy, you know how Jimmy is, he's real sarcastic. So he's like, oh, see, you asked me now. It's fuck you, Jimmy.
That kind of proves his point. If you won't let the man speak, that proves his point. You can't take it.
Showing.
Then he went on and say like how like he got a tech, D-Wade got a tech, Taj got a tech. He didn't feel like he didn't have our backs. It was just one of those team meetings like where everybody like kind of got something off their chest. But like I said, we ended up, figuring it out. We had an okay season. And Rondo getting hurt in the playoffs really hurt us. We were up 2-0 on the Celtics. I think we would have won that series if Rondo didn't get hurt, to be honest.
Yeah, y'all were rolling, man. And we got legendary stories about Jimmy out in Minnesota in practice. Whether he just dominated practice by don't take any shots. Give me the 5 guys that's on the bench and we'll play pickup. We'll play pickup and we'll scrimmage with those guys. You got any psycho Jimmy stories from Chicago?
Shit, we just heard one.
It's like Ghost Stories is the best.
I love it, man.
Yeah, like you just don't know, you just don't know what Jimmy you're gonna get, right? Like he could, like you said, he could come in, he could dominate practice just by scoring the ball. He could dominate by not scoring the ball. Like, he'd get into it with guys and then he'd be like, play me one-on-one after practice. They start playing one-on-one and Jimmy just torches him. Like it could be like I think he got into it with a two-way guy one time. And dude was like, I don't really I don't care that you're the best player on the team. You're a star on the team. I can't remember who it was though. Damn, I wish I remember who it was, but I can't remember. And he was like, play me one-on-one. And Jimmy was like, I'm not playing for nothing on the line. And he was like, all right, let's play for 10 bands. And Jimmy was like, nah, if I win, you gotta never play basketball again. I'll give you 10 bands.
Dear God. Oof, cutthroat.
That's tough.
It gets
Michael,
like
that year, there was a lot of stories back then that D Wade wasn't fully bought in. He was kind of a bad locker room guy, which is hard to believe. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. What was D Wade like that year? Because there was a lot of stories that he wasn't kind of buying into everything going down.
Yeah, I mean, I think D Wade was honestly, bro, in a tough position. Coming from Miami, like towards the end of his career, in a new place. I don't know if he knew like exactly what his role was. Like I think that, having Jimmy and having Rondo, like I just think he was trying to figure it out. At times I could see why people would say that, like he's not bought in. He was injured a lot of the times. Like I think us as players needed to realize like he is older. Like, so he would, for example, bro, he'd spend a lot of time on the table and like practice would be going on, or he would get frustrated that we wouldn't get him the ball in the right places. But then we would be like, well, how can we try to do this when we don't even get the reps at it in practice? Right. Like sometimes you're out, sometimes you're in, but like he's trying to save his body. He's trying to heal his knee. So it was just a bunch of things that we needed to try to, like, we were trying to figure out. And at times it got, misconstrued that, he wasn't, bought into the team. Because he would say, like, he would be passionate. He'd be like, yo, like, I want to win. Like, I want to do this. If anybody's got anything to say, like, let's talk. Like, we'd have conversations. So it wasn't like it was things like he was just ignoring anything and like letting things go and like not addressing anything. He was, but at times there was some issues. But, as far as, there was times where he would be a leader and speak on his past experiences and try to put us on game in certain things and try to lead the best way he could. And then there was times where, maybe we thought he could have been, a better leader.
Yeah.
You've been teammates with James Harden. You played against James Harden. This is just our excuse to show a piece of video that's silly, because this is a moment when you're playing against James Harden, and then this moment happens. But you're called for the foul here. Do you remember these moments like this, or do we just have fun watching them?
I remember. I remember. Of course, I get said this moment all the time.
First of all, those are the worst Rocket jerseys in the history of the world. Also,
I mean,
yeah. I'm not feeling those either. This actually hurt my back for real.
It looks like it would hurt your back.
Yeah, and it was my sixth foul too. So
That was your sixth foul.
It was my sixth foul. I had like 24 that game. It was one of those
before
games.
the time of doing this after every play.
Yeah,
exactly.
Definitely need to review that one.
Yeah, Jimmy was out. D Wade was out, and I think Rondo was out too. Like, so it was like, you get the three guys out, you're like, oh, opportunities presenting itself. And I was playing well. I had like 23. The game was close. And then who called that to what's his name? Tony Robinson called that. Tony, is it Tony? Tony
Brothers.
Tony Brothers.
Brothers? No, not Brothers. No.
It's hot. I remember Tony Brothers told me my rookie year. I was complaining to him. He was like, listen, I sat Jordan down. I can sit you down. I'm like,
I'm sure all three of us got Tony Brothers stories. That's a whole nother episode. We get on Tony Brothers.
That should be.
Come on, bro.
That's Chandler's guy. Michael, this has been awesome. You could tell us stories for 6 more hours and we'd appreciate it. We love it. Hope you'll come back.
Appreciate it, bro.
We'll be back. Yes, the NBA Cup. We're almost halfway through group pool play. Most teams have played a couple of games so far. How we feeling? Let's just get the vibes right now. How we feeling, Lou? Do we like the vibes so far?
You know what? I'm digging it. I'm enjoying these games. I'm actually enjoying the fact that I'm teaching other people what the NBA Cup is about. I had somebody lean into me like, why is the court so crazy? I had to explain to my homeboy, like, listen, on Tuesdays and Fridays, it's the NBA Cup. It's like a tournament. It's an in-season tournament. The winners get to go to Vegas. It's $500,000. He was like, really? I was like, yeah, man, they started. So I feel good that now, I'm one of the guys that's spreading the gospel about the NBA Cup. I was very critical of the courts, but they're growing on me. I'll be honest. The courts are growing on me, so I'm digging it. I'm in.
You're an ambassador, Lou. I've always said that about you. No, some courts are fine, and then there are others, and that's fine as well. You love it, right, Chandler? Like a year later, we're all in.
I love it. And at first I thought it was a little silly. Like, how much more do we have to incentivize these guys making 30, 40, 50 million a year? Like, what's the deal? But just put the financial bonus aspect aside. The basketball, the product is better. It's more intense. It's a playoff atmosphere. You get June basketball in November. So I love it. I think it's brilliant. Like, even the Boston Celtics court last night, it is god awful, but like it actually, you're right. It grows on you, and it's different, and it's unique, and it's fun. It doesn't look like an average NBA game. It looks like something exciting. Like Lou just said, my wife will be like, "What is that? Why is the court like that?" So then I find myself explaining what the NBA Cup is. So it's fun. The only thing I would change maybe is like waiting to make the brackets. Like, you look at this
Tuesday and Friday. You don't like that?
No, like East Group B is the Bucks, Pacers, Heat, Raptors, and Pistons. Like, they're all pretty bad teams.
Gotcha.
Like, so
But the Pacers were projected to be better than what they are. So you still got a couple of teams in those.
They try.
I'm just saying, maybe next year you wait till like the first 10, 15 games, whatever, see the record, and then make the brackets based on who's playing well that year or something. Because you look like there's certain teams, there's certain brackets that are loaded. Like the Warriors, Nuggets, Mavs are in a bracket. The Thunder, the Suns, the Lakers. Like, there's certain brackets that are just it's a bad draw.
Let me ask you a question.
It's tough though. You can't wait. Logistically, it's a tough call.
I know. That's the only issue I see with it.
When was our glory days of being players? Probably like high school AAU. Like that's when we had the most fun playing. And so with the point differentials and all of those things, I think it gives the NBA Cup like those childlike memories. Like, okay, I get to shoot up 20 still. I get to do some of these silly things that I used to do as a child. Then it gives me a chance to kind of relive those moments. And I'm playing for something inside of the season, whether it's point differentials or seeding. It kind of gives you that AAU vibe. And we love talking about throwbacks.
100%.
Throwback, nostalgia. All right, let's take a look. I know we got a little bit of time here. We can take a look at the standings of the odds as they are right now. East Group A, got a couple of undefeateds, 2-0s, Knicks, Magic. Who we like coming out of that?
I mean, the obvious choice here is the Knicks. Give me the Magic. They've won, I think, 6 in a row with Paolo.
There you go. Without him, yeah. That's crazy to me.
And he said the other day he might come back before Christmas. It's obviously a little bit too late for this tournament. Easy pick is the Knicks. I'm going with the Magic.
Yeah, I ain't rolling with the Magic. I'm gonna let Chandler stay with his hometown guys. But me, I'm just gonna bet big on the New York Knicks, and hopefully I can flip that minus 400 into some worthwhile. I'm staying with the Knicks.
Love this. I love this planning for you. East B, Pistons, the only ones who haven't lost yet in that pool. Those are the odds. They still have to play the Bucks and Pacers.
This is what I'm talking about. The Pistons are the favorite to win this bracket. Like how? Like this is the issue. That
they've been playing hard. You leave them alone, Chandler.
Give me the Bucks. They figured it out. Give me the Bucks.
I was about to say, there's no way I'm not taking the Bucks in this group. Yeah, that's just what it is. If they're the underdogs, then hey, who am I to argue with it? I'm taking the Milwaukee Bucks. Give me them.
Yeah, there you go. Make a little cash if you feel it. The C pool, Cavs 1-1. Celtics, of course, beating them yesterday. This one's interesting. See, Atlanta's at the top of this. Who's winning C?
Nobody in their right mind would take Hawks over the Celtics or the Cavs with those.
Took Orlando. What's the difference between Orlando and Atlanta?
Y'all know, everyone knows that those odds are silly, that the Hawks are not as good as the Cavs and the Celtics.
You talking about
it's just because they haven't lost.
They have a perennial all-star. What's the problem?
The problem is they're not as good, and they can't beat either of the two teams when it comes down to it.
So angry.
Give me the
Fine,
Celtics.
fine.
All right, you know what? I'll go out on a limb here and take the Celtics plus 250.
That was gutsy. Well done.
I was still taking the Cavaliers. I'm just asking questions. So I'm just asking.
Yeah, we're just asking questions. That's what we do. There you go. That's what you're looking at. Minnesota up top, even though they've lost a cup game. Thoughts, desires, wishes, Lou?
Clipper gang don't bang. I'm going with the 0-1 Clippers at plus 1400. Beadle, we just talked about hitting home runs. We just talked about hitting home runs yesterday and these plus 1,000, plus 1,400 odds.
We did.
Look at this. The best team is 1-0. I'm not delirious. I mean, I still got a team that can do this. I'm going.
You know what?
Give me the Houston Rockets. Youngest team. They want it more. Give me the Rockets plus 200.
It does feel like the cup is made for some of these young teams, and there you go.
I like
West
Sacramento
Group
in
B.
the A group as well. Sac in that A group too. What we got here?
Give me the Spurs. I mean, the Spurs beat Oklahoma with no Wemby. They're obviously onto something. Boom. I'm with Lou. I'll put some money on
No
that.
Durant, no Beal. They're done. No Chet hurts the Thunder. I hate to take a favorite here, but I'm going the Lake Show again for the.
Boring.
I'm absolutely going to Los Angeles Lakers. The Las Vegas is the second home to the Los Angeles Lakers, and I keep
Fair.
telling y'all, anytime LeBron James gets an opportunity to be a show on that Las Vegas Strip, he's gonna show up and show out as the best player in the world should. He's gonna be there, and he's gonna be very much a part of this NBA Cup and part of this show. Give me the Lakers.
All right. C. There. And there's the stacked. What do we think about this one? Chandler, who you taking? Golden State, Denver? You're going to take Dallas.
I'm going to take the Denver Nuggets. You know what? They're just getting ran through. They're getting crucified. We talk about how Jokic is only out for a personal reason. It's not like he's hurt. He's coming back. Give me the Denver Nuggets. This gives them just the confidence they need, Lou, to get back on track.
Go to State Warriors. Give me the chef on the Vegas Strip for the cash.
I like that. I do like that. That will be fun.
Yes.
Not going to win any money, but it's fun nonetheless. All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll come back, wrap things up here on Run It Back. Hey guys, so the Bucks have won 3 of 4. We got Bobby Portis back tomorrow. Any questions we have to get in?
No,
I wanna know.
I think they're feeling good and confident right now, Michelle.
Yeah,
I think
you feel good about it. What happens when you guys do find the rat? Do you ever find the rat in the locker room?
I've never found the rat. We had one situation in Memphis where something got out and we never really figured out. It was just kind of another story came.
I always kind of have a feeling who it is, anyways. You kind of know.
Oh, really?
You just plant a little fake bug and see where it comes out.
Well. Tomorrow we unleash the beasts. We find out who the rat is. See y'all tomorrow.